Hi guys, so when we recorded these videos, we actually lost sound. So I'm doing a voiceover. And here I am introducing myself, my husband, there's Andrew, and Priscilla and Penelope, and that's us. We're the Hutchinsons. So, and I know this kind of sounds silly, but we're doing a voiceover here. So there's my silly family.
We just didn't want to lose the content for you guys, and she put a lot of hard work into it. So
today on this episode, I'm making a yellow split pea soup, and it's not completely the same as the recipe. And I'm also making a So Good potato soup. I wish I could hear what I was saying in this portion. But I'm pretty sure I was saying that it's easy. They're very good soups, and let's get started. It looks like I'm getting out measuring increments. I know what I was doing here. I was making bread. So actually, what I'm showing you here right now is how I put together the artisan sourdough bread that only takes about 3 hours to raise, and it's super easy. So here I am putting together the bread. And it looks like one was a rye and one was just a plain sourdough. And here I'm showing in the yellow bowl is just going to be the plain sourdough bread, where we just take 3 cups of bread flour, or it can be regular all-purpose flour, 2 teaspoons of kosher salt, a whole packet of yeast, and 1.5 cups of warm water. In the other bowl, we're going to use what I had left of the bread flour, but it should at least be 2 cups. And 1 cup of organic rye. It doesn't have to be organic, it just has to be rye flour, 2 teaspoons of kosher salt, 1 packet of yeast, and 1.5 cups of warm water. And as you can see, I'm doing that in both bowls. So I added the yeast first. And then I'm going to measure I'm going to actually measure out in the yellow bowl first. So that's just going to be the plain sourdough. So even though some recipes call for bread flour, that's not always required. You can actually use all-purpose flour. So I'm starting to measure it out, and that's a 1/2 cup. So I'll do 6 of those. I'm pretty sure I said the difference between bread flour and all-purpose flour is bread flour is a self-rising flour, so it might rise a little bit faster whether or not you add yeast to it. And then I'm adding the kosher salt. Get 2 teaspoons. And I've most likely already turned the water on so that it's getting nice and warm. And here in the second bowl, I'm going to put in what I have left of bread flour, and then add the rest, just, plain all-purpose flour, and the 1 cup of rye flour. And I only used organic rye because that seems to what is available in our area. So I usually buy the King Arthur organic rye, but you can usually use whatever rye flour you want. And you can see I'm coming down to the last of the bread flour I have. I've been baking a lot of bread lately. But the purpose is to show you guys that it's not required to use a starter every time you want to raise bread. There's a lot of misconceptions around bread starter, and people, I think it's just going on the trend again, and it's really not that important. You can actually take this recipe and raise it overnight, and it becomes huge. And it becomes a nice bubbly dough. Then here I am adding the organic rye. And that was using half cup increments. So again, the recipe is 3 cups of flour, bread flour or all-purpose flour, 2 teaspoons of salt, 1 packet of yeast, and 1.5 cups of hot water. In the rye bread, it is 2 cups of bread flour or all-purpose, 1 cup of organic rye or whatever rye flour you have, 2 teaspoons of salt, kosher salt is the best, and 1.5 cups of warm water. So right now I'm adding the warm water, again using half cup increments. I'm going to do that in both, as you see. And I've got my kitchen spatula right there, and all I'm going to do is just turn it into a scrappy dough. So it's not gonna, be pretty looking, but I'm gonna mix it as much as possible so that it looks like a dough. And as you can see, I'm pulling from the sides more than I am just mixing it. And I'm just trying to include the wet and the dry ingredients together. And you see it's all pulled from the side. It's really done it itself. I've just, pushed it around a little bit. And now moving on to the, yep, you can see the scrappy dough. Now moving on to the rye. Again, just pulling the ingredients together. It's not really kneading because this is a no-knead dough. And you're just getting a really good inclusion here. Mixing the wet and the dry. It's a little bit harder with the rye. That this dough actually tends to be a little bit drier. As you can see, I'm kind of struggling mixing it. But I just keep going until it's all included and all put together. I feel kind of bad because if I was talking about the Lord at any point here, it means that I won't remember it. But I know those who are watching, I know they know that I love the Lord, and I know that I'm not afraid to talk about him in my daily life, so let the Holy Spirit run through this one. So at this point, I'm going to cover them with cellophane. Like I use food service film wrap, but that's not required. You can use any, plastic wrap to put over your bowl, and you just want to get a really good seal so that as it's fermenting, it's getting hot inside that bowl. So there's one. I handed that off to my husband. He's going to put it right on our kitchen table. When we have the heat on, we're here in New York State, so if you're watching from somewhere else, when we have the heat on, it seems like our kitchen table gets like the best, forced air heat coming in. So that's it. I'm going to actually hand that bowl off to my husband, and then we're going to get started. Looks like I'm just cleaning off the counter here. So the two soups that we're making in this episode is a yellow split pea soup, and a So Good potato soup. Yellow split pea soup actually has pistachios that garnish it, so I ended up chopping those up later on. So I'm getting out my measuring increments here. I'm not sure what I'm saying, so hopefully my husband is going to watch this later on and cut and edit. Yes. Okay. So at this portion, we wanted to show you that, you know, a lot of people are using the food cupboard, and the food cupboard always has like dried beans, lentils, or split peas. So if you're using the food cupboard, you might pass up on those foods. Don't. There are so many recipes that you can use to make these wonderful recipes. And I also showed you that we had cut up potatoes because, you know, the Lord keeps blessing us with food. And I really love that. So instead of using my canned potatoes, like I would have normally used, which I have so much canned, I'm going to use some potatoes that, you know, a bunch of people had blessed me with. And I was showing you that these bags of split yellow peas that I'd gotten from the food cupboard myself, and that others had just given to me. So there's like a ton of wonderful recipes you can do at this point. And there's no sense of, you know, saying no to different foods that you don't know what to do with. It's always important to, you know, use what the Lord's given you. Use what the Lord's blessed you with. I mean, He didn't give us brains for no reason. He gave us brains to do these wonderful things that we can do with our skills. And all of us have different skills, and we just need to remember that. It glorifies the Lord when we're loving on others and doing our service. So at this point, I'm showing you what pots I'm going to use. So for the yellow split pea, I'm going to use that Dutch oven. And for the So Good potato, I'm going to use the copper bottom pot. So I'm throwing 2 tablespoons of olive oil in both. And I'm going to heat that up. I forgot. We had used the Dutch oven to make bread the other night before, and it wasn't completely clean, so I cleaned it out a little bit. I just wiped it out. I mean, a Dutch oven is almost like a cast iron skillet. They actually season very well with the more use you have. But you can't scour them, just like you can't scour a cast iron pot. It has to be cleaned in a certain way, which is usually just, you know, wiping down and rinsing it out. So as you see, I turned the oven on, so I'm getting everything nice and hot, and then I'm about to put at least in both, they're going to start with carrot and celery and onions. And I'm already I'm chopping up some garlic here, because one thing I love to do is put fresh garlic in everything. This yellow split pea soup, that took quite a bit of garlic. You can see my go-to for peeling garlic is you just smash it a couple of times. Not to where it just, you know, explodes under the pressure of your hand, but it at least releases the skin of the garlic. And I was also showing you that for this Israeli split pea soup, that I was using a special spice that my buddy Art gave me, and it's called rose harissa. Um, so the wonderful thing about that is it's really, really, really tasty and very, 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 very savory. And rose harissa, there are rose petals in it, but there's also like other pepper spices too. So here we are, and we're adding the onions and the carrot, and the celery to the pot for the So Good potato soup. And then the Israeli yellow split pea soup is going to get onion. Like I said, that had 5 cloves of garlic in it, and 2 cups of carrot. So we're adding all of that right now. I hope I'm not misleading you guys on all of this, because it's hard doing a voiceover, but we didn't want to miss it because this is the Israeli yellow split pea soup was just so good. And later on you'll find out we decided to add ham and stuff to it. But here I am. I'm still getting the garlic ready because I'm going to press it right into the pot. I'm not sure what I'm saying here. But so for the Israeli split pea soup, you're looking at 2 tablespoons of olive oil, a medium onion diced, 5 cloves of garlic peeled and diced, 2 cups of carrots peeled and diced, 2 cups of yellow split peas, washed and sorted, 8 cups of chicken stock or vegetable stock. I used chicken stock because I had a very wonderful poultry stock that I had made in the past, and I decided to use that again. It's going to get black pepper and chopped celery or parsley or cilantro for serving. In the end, we actually added diced ham to it. And what else did we add? The rose harissa and some other spices that I put in there, I'm sure. And for the So Good potato soup, so that was 3 tablespoons of olive oil, carrot, celery, onion, and we put some garlic in there. That's going to get 4.5 cups of potatoes. I put in my stewed tomatoes. It says vegetable broth, but we ended up using poultry. Black pepper, hot pepper flakes, oregano, basil, parsley, and we put Parmesan cheese on it to garnish. We also added bacon because I had bacon that we were using that morning. Oh, my shirt. Yeah, my husband reminded me. So you see the one side has a flower and the other side has many flowers. Well, our plans only amount to so much, one flower. When God moves in our lives, it's like a flower garden that bloomed in the midst of thorns and ugly weeds and things like that. That's how wonderful the Lord is. Yep, now you can see I'm pressing garlic. If you guys don't have a garlic press, I really suggest you invest in one. And what's funny is people are always giving away this stuff. They're always giving away these things. So it shouldn't be too hard for you to find one on one of the free sites in your area. A lot of people don't understand there are so many kitchen devices that you can use. And I'm sorry about the background noise. There we go. See, everything's like kind of sauteing up a little bit here and there. I'm hoping that we can post these 2 recipes right in the comments for you. I mean, I tend to do things different than what the recipe calls for, but that's just me. I'm saying something to the camera, but I don't know what it is. So when you're cooking on the stovetop like this and you're sauteing vegetables, one of the important things is to check your nose. When it's aromatic, you know, you're doing the right thing, but you can tell when it's burning. And here I am showing you that I'm using my own stewed tomatoes. Looks like I'm checking the recipe. So this, oh, that's not stewed tomatoes. I apologize. That is me using my own poultry stock. And you can see it's very thick. So I'm going to end up adding water to it and water it out. Just thins it out a bit. And we're going to end up putting that between the yellow split pea Israeli soup. So it's Israeli yellow split pea soup and the So Good potato soup. Oh, here I was showing you, if you have your own kitchen jars that you're with your own canning, there are increments of measurements on the side of the jar that show you that you can, you know, if you need to add water or you need to add something, you've got a measuring device right in front of you. So that's what I was showing you, that I'm going to be using that to pour into the potato soup. And now we're adding the potatoes. Stirring around the onions in the Israeli soup. Giving a good stir to the potatoes we just put in there. Now it's time to add the garlic to the Israeli soup. The onions needed a little bit of time on low to become very soft, tender, and translucent. So it looks like here I am just pressing, putting the garlic into the presser, and then I'm just going to add it right to the onions. Sorry about the background noise. Yeah, that Israeli soup took about 5 cloves of garlic, and it's incredible the smells, the aromatic smells that were coming off of that while it was cooking. So good. And that soup was so good. I ended up canning some of it, so we had quite a few jars of all of these dinners that we had made. I didn't realize how long it takes me to press garlic, but it's worth it. Honestly, it's worth it. I think people get scared of having to do a lot of things like this, and there's really no point of it. I mean, it's the time that you have to yourself in the kitchen, making things out of love for your family. A lot of the times I sit here and I start praying, you know, and I just start talking to the Lord and just repenting, being at his feet while I'm cooking. And it's a great time for me. I love being in my kitchen. So it looks like I'm cleaning up the counter here. I think this is a cut point, Andrew. Maybe not. So here I am stirring around the pot, just, and pretty soon I should be adding the stock that I have, the split peas, the carrots. Yeah, it looks like I just did that. Yeah, here I said, I already know that I took out 2 cups, so I'm just going to add the rest of the bat. I couldn't get it open though, that was funny. I actually used one of the elastic ties that are supposed to be used for frosting bags. There we go, we're adding all the peas. Now we're going to add all the carrots. Let's go right in. So I'm going to end up putting the lid on that Dutch oven because the yellow split peas need to soften, and that's going to take quite a bit of time. %. Oh, all right. So here I am talking about my stewed tomatoes. So I canned so much over the summer, and the So Good Potatoes soup calls for canned peeled tomatoes that are chopped. So why not just add the stewed tomatoes that I made? And they're pretty flavorful. So it calls for 3/4 of a cup. I'm just going to add the whole pint jar that I made. I'm not going to drain it. I just added the whole thing to it. Look at that beautiful color on that soup so far. And I would like you to also take note. I don't add spices right away. There's a lot of confusion about that in cooking. If you add it right away, especially when things go to boil and then go down to simmer, you tend to lose flavor. So it's smart to actually add it when it goes down to simmer rather than it's boiling. I'm not sure if I already said that in this video, but I know I've said it quite a few times in the past. So at this point, the So Good potato soup would have had to, we're going to lid it, get it up to a boil, and then throw it back down to a simmer. And that's what's going on with the Dutch oven over there. I think this is a cut point, Andrew. So right now I'm reading the Rose Harissa, and it's talking about the different spices that it has in it. And one of it has is the Aleppo peppers, which are famous for that area because they could be pretty hot. Actually, peppers grown in cold, dry areas or even hot, dry areas are even hotter than you would think. But this soup was so tasty having all these spices in it. Like I said, I just get blessed constantly with people saying, "Hey, I want to share this with you." And that's the Lord. That's not us in any way. Nobody has to share anything with anybody. But it's wonderful how we get that Holy Spirit touch and that Holy Spirit conviction. So it looks like I'm just showing you that the soups are kind of doing their thing. They're getting to a boil, going to a simmer, and we're just going to leave it alone and let it do its happy little thing. There was a lot that I didn't need to add to the So Good potato because I used my own canning stuff, and that's already been flavored quite a bit. On this voiceover, guys, I'm in the background um folding laundry. I might be talking about the spices here because it looks like I'm at the point where I'm starting to add. But also, I had to keep in mind that the Dutch oven takes a lot longer to heat, and that's because it heats evenly and it's cast iron. Well, I'm sorry that we lost a lot when it comes to the integrity of this video, but there's something important we wanted to show you here was that over the summer I bought some cool used equipment, and some of them were induction cookware, like the new wave induction stovetops that you can plug in on your counter. And we're like so excited, so we decided we want to do a little test. And how you test to see if your pots are good for that type of cookware or that type of device is that a magnet sticks to the bottom of it. So we found out we didn't have any of that. But it's really cool because I was looking forward to getting some new cookware anyways eventually, and I know the Lord's going to provide it in his timing. But in the next video you can actually see that I used a plug-in stovetop that's for camping that I bought used from somebody too. I think that, oh, yeah, so right here you can see, the camera's going to pan to it, that the So Good potato soup is actually, it's boiling, now it's down to a simmer, and I think I've showed you a couple of times. You can tell the difference between a boil and a simmer, and that is that when you're stirring, it doesn't quit. It's still pretty active. So it looks like I'm turning it down. Oh, that soup. I have to tell you something about this So Good potato soup. It's so good. But here I am adding the spices. I think I got some cumin there. I can't really see. That's possibly the oregano. The oregano, the basil. I'm sure I put cumin in. I put cumin in like everything. I know there was probably a little bit of hot pepper flakes, salt and pepper. And you can see I'm not measuring it out. There's just like the longer you cook in a kitchen, it's really about eyeing everything. I remember once I worked for a restaurant, and the instructions were add the ingredients or add all the spices until it looks right. And I'm like, what? But that's how they made their chicken salad. So it looks like I added these spices, set it back down to a simmer on the So Good potato, and I think this is a cut point. No, I'm checking out the split pea. Still hasn't completely gone to a rolling boil yet, but it looks like it's getting there. Yeah, it looks like we're boiling, but the instructions. And guys, I just gotta apologize again about this video. I'm very sorry. But I guess it just shows you that we're still new at this. Real people that make mistakes. And thanks for giving us the grace. Thanks for checking in. And like I said, I think I said it a bunch of times in the video. I can always be texted if you want any of these recipes or any like hit tips and tricks or what I did differently. And my phone number is 585-905-5236. I'm not really worried about scammers. I believe the Lord's going to keep me protected. Here I'm adding some salt, some pepper. All right, so it looks like we're back here, and I'm talking about both the soups. I'm actually getting the counter set up because that Israeli soup is actually going to be blended with my KitchenAid hand blender, or I think they call it emulsifier. So it's going to be a creamed soup. It's pretty thick too, but oh, is it delicious. And it looks like the potato soup is just about done here. And I believe Andrew, our tasty tester, is going to let you know. I think I'm just kind of like cleaning up the kitchen here and getting things set up. I'll show you that here I had some ham that we cut up. A friend of ours, his name is Art. Art had given us a spiral cut pre-cooked ham, and we've just been using it in different things. And I had done some bacon in the oven earlier because we invited everybody over to have some late brunch and stuff. I think that was on a Saturday. Yeah, this was a Saturday filming. And I'm going to be cutting up some celery here for the garnish of the Israeli soup. It doesn't have pistachios. In the beginning, I thought I was doing a different recipe, so I apologize about that. Oh, and I was talking about the containers the Lord keeps blessing me with. I have some wonderful people in my life, like Christine Tilley. Her husband works at Pactiv, and Pactiv is a packaging company, and they actually give away containers to their employees. And these employees, know me, and they pass on the blessing. So thank you to that, and thank you, Lord, for the heart that you put in us. So it looks like I'm just chopping it up here, putting it away. And, I'm not going to use all of this celery on as a garnish for the soup. I think in the next video, in the next set of episodes that we were using ingredients from the food pantry and just trying to teach people things, that I used up the rest of this diced up celery. And now I'm talking about the KitchenAid emulsifier there. I'm just dicing up the celery here. Not sure what I'm saying into the camera, but knowing me, it wasn't that important. All right, so here I am checking on the soups and everything, and looks like the potato soup is done. So we're gonna let that sit there. I think it's done. I really can't tell what's going on doing this voiceover. Oh yes, yes. Andrew is going to be the tasty tester. Here he is. He's going to taste it. He might say, "Oh, it needs a little bit of salt, or it needs a something," but Andrew's so great with that. And I'm setting the timer for the Israeli soup because the split peas aren't quite soft enough yet. And I think I'm talking about the difference between salts, which I'm just adding some iodinized salt in here. But I mean, you can use whatever you got. Don't make don't make cooking a harsh experience just because you don't have the ingredients. There are so many substitutions that you can use. All right, now he is going to taste the soup. Yay! I think he said he liked it. Mikey likes it. And so this was a Saturday, so Andrew actually had to go to work. So I took that off the stovetop, and we're gonna finish up this Israeli soup. Andrew, you're actually gonna see Andrew, we're gonna put it in a bowl, garnish it with some Parmesan, the So Good potato soup, and he's gonna eat it before he goes to work. All right. So here we are. I'm showing you the top of this So Good potato soup. And we're going to put it in a bowl for Andrew, and he's going to come around and taste it for us. Talking about all the blessings the Lord has given us. I mean, these beautiful bowls. Something Andrew's mom used to say: the Lord shovels it in, I shovel it out, but his shovel is always bigger. So the Lord we can never ever get blessed more than what he blesses us. And it's usually through others. Here we go. Putting it in the bowl, putting in some liquid there. This soup was so good. Oh, I loved it so much. Garnish it with some shaky cheese that everybody should have. Everybody's got the shaky cheese. And gonna throw some of that bacon that I made up earlier. Put some parsley on top. And there you go. And here's Andrew coming around to taste it. And I'm moving the soup. I think he thumbed up. He always does it so quick, I can never tell. All right, but put that off to the side because we're going to eat that later. The girls and I and Art came over. Yep, and I'm testing. So when you see me kind of like touching the peas, the yellow split peas on that spoon, I'm actually checking to see how soft they are. Which it looks like they need a little bit more time. Right, so here I am actually checking the soup and it looks like it's ready. I'm checking to see how hot the pot handles are. So at this point, I'm putting it on the trivet, right in front of me. And I'm about to take my emulsifier and I'm going to be emulsifying this soup, like blending it up. I should be putting an apron on here. Pretty hairy when you're using that blender. Oh, I am. I'm putting on the apron Mason got me for Christmas, and it says, "Bakers are gonna bake." I love that little guy. All right, so here I am using the KitchenAid emulsifier, and if you guys have never used one or you have one and you don't use it that much, I want to remind you that when the blender's on, it needs to be below the liquid line, because what it's going to do is pull in the soup or whatever you're emulsifying, like I said, like into those slots, and it's got a nice blender, like a blade in there. So obviously you don't want to touch it when it's home. Yeah. Come here, Gimme. Gimme is our one kitty. But as you can see, I probably started on the low setting, so I started on a 1, and then I ended up moving it to a 2. And I'm constantly changing hands just because I have, some strength issues that the Lord's working out. But I'm keeping that head below the liquid line. Otherwise, I'd be covered in soup at this point, and hot bubbling soup. But you can see it's starting to cream up really well. And it's probably loud, so I guess it's good at this point we're doing the voiceover. And I know at one point I probably said, Nigella Lawson would have said, just use the blender. But I'm not Nigella Lawson. Her recipes are really for entertaining, if anybody wants to know, because they're very, they use a lot of very expensive ingredients and stuff. I think the recipes I do, yeah, they could be for entertaining, because they're pretty savory, they're pretty tasty, but also they're pretty home style. And I think that's what a lot of us need. We don't need to be fancy. Now, when we do holiday dinners, we're pretty fancy. I gotta say that, eating like hobbits 5-6 times a day. So if you have a blender, of course you can use it. It's just going to be a little bit more difficult because you actually have to remove all the contents from the pot and then put it back in. So, I mean, I found that this KitchenAid emulsifier used on Marketplace, and I bought it for $10. Those things usually run right around, I think, between 60 and 100. So it was a pretty good deal for me, I have to tell you that. And this is really yellow split pea soup is very thick and very hearty. And as I said, at the end, you're going to see where I'm going to add the ham that we had, chopped up ham. It doesn't, the recipe doesn't call for it, but we added it because it's just good. Good. Here in New York State, we're experiencing like single digit weather with high winds. So, a good soup is pretty good right now. I believe at this point I'm explaining to you that it's done, and I'm going to put the emulsifier right into the sink. And when you clean it, actually, you clean it with it on, because they're meant to get wet. They're not going to break because you got it wet. You don't want to immerse the entire thing, but they're meant to get wet. So at this point, the soup is still hot. I don't need to put it back on the stove or anything like that. It looks like I'm just going to finish up the rest of the ingredients that need to go, that I'm going to put in it. So like the ham, probably going to add a whole bunch of parsley to it, because parsley goes wonderfully with everything. Oh my goodness, that's my cat. Family! Anybody, can you tell we have a Lord of the Rings fans here? All right, so here we are. We are adding the rose harissa. Guys, this was difficult trying to do this voiceover. I'm not sure what spice that is. Oh, paprika. I think that was oregano. Soup is so piping hot, it's really not important to put it back on the stove and heat it up again. So if I remember right, we didn't do that. Oh, we're adding some hot pepper flakes, I think. That's what it looks like. Oh, and of course parsley. Stir it all up. You can see how thick that is. It's very thick, but it's so good. I mean, so when you reheat this, you're going to want to add some liquid to it. So if you wanted to can it and then you're going to reheat it, you're going to definitely add some liquid to it to thin it out. Otherwise, you're going to be burning the bottom of whatever pan you're reheating it in. Oh, Andrew's tasting it. He's probably saying it needs a little bit of salt. So we're going to add some salt. I use the big Mediterranean salt this time. Stirring it back up. Boo, 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 boo. I'm not sure what I was saying here. I wish I knew. Guys, I'm sorry. It looks like I haven't thrown the ham in yet. Oh, he's tasting it. Let's see what he thinks. He's saying it's good. His reactions are so, muted. It's so funny. But he's a good and loving husband. He's my covering. Oh, there we go. See, I just added a whole bunch of that ham. I think he's going to taste it with the ham. I can't remember. You know, I'm really hungry just watching this. All right, now he's going to taste it again. Oh, there's Penny in the background. Oh, there's Prissy too. All right, so Andrew wanted to make sure we showed you what the 3 hour, or I'm sorry, what the 1 and 15 minute or so, 1 hour and 50 minutes or dough rise looks like. And you can see both bowls are, there's heat going on inside them because the cellophane has risen and it's like created like a dome. And I'm not sure what I'm saying there, but that's, so you can see the difference between the all-purpose flour bread and the rye. The rye has risen, but not as much as just the regular sourdough. But by the time I actually baked these, oh gosh, they were incredible. I mean, now I think it was Sunday after church, we ended up having sourdough rye and ham and cheese sandwiches. We've been eating ham for so long because we got the Lord blessed us with a pre-cooked spiral ham, so we cut it up. And then I think it was last night we had dinner with the rest of the sourdough bread. So it was super good. And I think I'm probably explaining here that it's going to be another 2 hours before I get to put these in the oven. But I'll be honest with you, I went over to my mother's house and I brought her an almond Danish that I made, a big one. And I went over there and we cut it up and I iced it in front of her. And she wanted to actually freeze slices of it so she could have it whenever she wanted. So when we came back, when the girls and I came back from there, we baked all the bread. So they actually probably rose for like almost 4.5 hours. But oh gosh, it was super good. And that night the girls and I had the So Good potato soup. And whatnot. So it was great. And I'm not sure what I'm saying here, but I'm pretty sure I'm saying, this is it. It was super easy. Glad you joined us. And again, I apologize about the fact that we had to do a voiceover. If you stayed tuned, thank you. And that's pretty much it.